Before the 1990s, if you felt things deeply or got easily overwhelmed by crowded rooms and loud noises, society had a very simple, dismissive label for you. You were just called too sensitive, told to grow a thicker skin, or ordered to simply toughen up. For generations, millions of people grew up believing something was fundamentally broken inside them because they couldn't just switch off their feelings like everyone else. That entire narrative changed in 1991 when a psychologist named Dr. Elaine Aron decided to study this exact trait under a scientific lens. What she discovered blew the doors off how we understand human psychology. She found that this isn't a personality flaw, a psychological weakness, or a disorder. It is a distinct, measurable biological trait found in a massive 15 to 20% of the global population. These individuals are scientifically classified as highly sensitive people, or HSPs. If you are one of them, it means you possess a nervous system that is fundamentally different from the remaining 80% of the world. If you identify as an empath or an HSP, your brain is physically, structurally wired in a unique way. Brain scans show that the specific areas of your mind responsible for regulating emotions and processing sensory details are hyper-responsive. Your neural pathways do not have the standard filters that block out background noise, subtle shifts in tone, or environmental shifts. While a non-HSP can walk into a room and only notice the music or the decor, your brain immediately registers the lighting, the tension between two people across the room, the hidden sadness in a coworker's smile, and even the hum of the air conditioner. You don't just notice these external stimuli, you actively process them at a much deeper level. This hyper-responsiveness turns your entire system into a literal emotional sponge. You do not merely witness the energy, stress, and unspoken feelings of the people around you. You absorb them directly into your own body, soaking up their vibes until your own emotional battery is completely fried and you are left feeling utterly drained without knowing why. Because you process the world at such a profound depth, your soul naturally craves raw, unfiltered, and deeply authentic connections. You need truth to feel safe, which is precisely why disingenuous fake people don't just annoy you or rub you the wrong way, they make you feel physically sick. Have you ever had the bizarre experience of standing next to someone who seemed perfectly pleasant, polite, and kind on the surface, but the moment you got near them, you felt a sudden wave of nausea, anxiety, or an intense urge to pull away? Maybe you suddenly found yourself completely unable to form a logical sentence, stuttering over simple words, or going from perfectly fine to feeling completely gross and blah in a matter of seconds. That sudden physical reaction isn't an overreaction, and it isn't in your head. That is your empathetic antenna picking up on a massive, hidden danger. Your hypersensitive brain is running a background check on everyone you meet, and it immediately detects a violent mismatch between the mask a person is actively wearing and the actual energetic frequency they are projecting. You are experiencing a subconscious clash. On the outside, they are smiling and throwing out cheap compliments, but on an energetic level, your system is registering their hidden anger, desperation, or deep-seated insecurity. Your body recognizes that what you are seeing and what is actually happening behind the scenes do not match, which always means they are hiding something. You are literally absorbing the toxic pain and deception they tried so hard to bury. Because you can see right through their fake persona, your nervous system instantly reads the deception as a threat, sending you straight into a state of physical alarm that leaves you feeling exhausted, confused, and desperate to run as far away from them as possible. When an empath encounters a fake persona, it doesn't just cause a mild mental annoyance. It triggers a literal, full-blown physical survival response deep within your nervous system. The very second you step into the radius of someone who is being disingenuous, your brain's threat detection system recognizes the deception and instantly drops your body into high alert alarm mode. This is the exact same evolutionary fight or flight response that human beings use to survive physical danger. But for you, it is triggered by dishonest energy. All of a sudden, out of absolutely nowhere, your hands start to get clammy and sweaty, your chest tightens, and your heartbeat begins to race, as if you're facing down a predator. You're hit with a sudden, heavy wave of unexplained dread that settles right into the pit of your stomach. Your entire body is screaming at you that something is dangerously wrong with the environment you are standing in, causing your nervous system to go into a frantic state of panic. As this internal alarm system takes over your body, your cognitive brain completely short circuits, causing you to experience symptoms that make absolutely no sense to the ordinary, non-sensitive people around you. You might find yourself suddenly freezing up in the middle of a casual conversation, completely unable to articulate your thoughts. You start to stumble over your words, stuttering and tripping over basic sentences because your brain is spending all of its processing power trying to decode the toxic energy in front of you. It gets so intense that you might even experience a sudden jarring mental blank where you forget simple everyday details about your own life, like what you did over the weekend or what your own hobbies are. If the fake person puts you on the spot, your speech becomes incredibly difficult. Your mind clouds over with intense confusion, and you are consumed by an overwhelming, suffocating urge to pack up and run as far away from this individual as humanly possible, just to catch your breath. The reason your body reacts with such extreme hostility to a fake persona is because you are not just looking at the person. Your empathetic gifts are forcing you to actively collide with the heavy, hidden truths they have desperately swept under the rug. You are a human lie detector, and your system is reacting to the massive emotional baggage they are trying to hide behind a beautiful mask. When you stand near a classic people pleaser who acts like an over-friendly pushover just to be accepted by everyone in the room, you don't feel their superficial kindness. Instead, your body absorbs their deep-seated desperation, their crushing fear of rejection, and the raw anxiety of their constant need for external validation. You are picking up on the intense, exhausting effort it takes for them to constantly bend over backwards and put on a show just to feel loved. This painful, energetic collision happens with every single type of emotional masking out there, and your body feels the weight of all of it. When you encounter someone who is flashing a bright, friendly smile, but secretly concealing a mountain of bitter hatred, jealousy, or unresolved anger, your nervous system registers the threat of that hidden aggression instantly. You feel the cold chill of a person who had a brutal, unstable upbringing and carries immense vulnerability, yet tries to walk around acting completely tough, unshaken, and bulletproof. You see right through the person who is trying way too hard to act a certain way that completely goes against their natural personality, or the coworker dishing out fake, embellished compliments just to manipulate people into liking them. You are feeling the exact pain, insecurity, and trauma that these people are running away from, even though you know they don't necessarily mean you any harm and that they just have a lot of deep emotional healing left to do. Absorbing their buried shadows leaves you feeling physically sick, utterly exhausted, and completely hollowed out until you can finally escape their company. Here is a harsh, uncomfortable truth that most highly sensitive people try to avoid. Life is a mirror, and the world around you is constantly reflecting your own subconscious back at you. When you spot a fake trait in someone else and it absolutely drains your battery, It is usually because your subconscious mind instantly recognizes that exact same survival mechanism hidden deep within yourself. We like to think of ourselves as purely authentic victims of a fake world, but the reality is that empaths fake things too. None of us can truly claim to fully know or accept every single part of ourselves. So we do what humans do to survive. We put the specific version of ourselves on display that we feel will gain the most acceptance and safety. You have worn a mask. You have smiled when you wanted to scream. You have acted completely fine when you were drowning in pain. And you have understated your own suffering just to avoid making waves or looking weak in a cold, desensitized world. When your empathetic antenna catches someone else playing a part, it triggers you because it acts as a direct mirror to your own hidden defense mechanisms. You know what it feels like to bury your true thoughts just to get through the day. Recognizing this hidden mirror completely changes the game because it removes judgment from the equation. You don't look at a disingenuous person with hatred or superiority. Instead, your deep capacity for empathy allows you to look past the irritation and see the profound sadness of their situation. You realize that their fake persona is just a clumsy shield protecting a broken, unhealed inner child. Because you know firsthand the agonizing, crushing amount of mental energy it takes to keep a false identity alive every single day, you don't wish these people any harm. In fact, most empaths end up quietly sending them a sincere wish of love and healing after walking away, hoping they eventually find the courage to drop the act. However, having compassion for their pain does not mean you have to sit there and let it destroy your own life, which is why you must learn how to weaponize your boundaries. To survive in this world without losing your absolute mind and burning out, you must master the ultimate power move, the unapologetic, hard no. So many empaths walk around with the toxic belief that they cannot maintain their gentle, sensitive nature while simultaneously speaking up for themselves. You feel a massive wave of guilt every time you choose your own peace over someone else's demands, convincing yourself that saying no makes you a cold, selfish person. But let's get direct. Saying no does not make you a bad person. It simply means you recognize that your time, energy, and mental health are finite resources. You only have a limited amount of hours each day, and you cannot possibly make everyone happy while keeping yourself alive. You cannot heal the planet, fix your friends, or save your coworkers if you're constantly running on absolute empty. You have to completely stop sacrificing your hard-earned peace just to protect other people's temporary comfort. The moment you start prioritizing your own life and knocking off the tasks that actually matter to your goals, saying no becomes a mandatory tool for basic survival. If someone throws a tantrum, acts passive-aggressive, or gets their feelings hurt because you finally drew a line in the sand, you need to remember that their reaction is their emotional responsibility, not yours. Your job is to communicate your boundary. Their job is to manage how they choose to feel about it. You are not the manager of other people's emotions. When you finally break the addiction to people-pleasing, which is actually a highly dangerous self-destructive habit that pushes your own basic needs to the absolute back burner, you build an unbreakable wall of assertiveness. You reclaim your stolen time, skyrocket your self-esteem, and finally gain the heavy-duty psychological armor required to navigate even the most toxic, superficial environments without letting them drain your soul. The absolute root cause of most human unhappiness, both for you as an empath and for the fake people who constantly drain your energy, is a deep, terrifying fear of looking at the true self. Most people wander through life completely miserable simply because they do not know who they actually are underneath all the noise. From the time we are children, we learn to bury the parts of our personality that society, our teachers, or our parents deem unacceptable. We sweep our darkest emotions straight into the subconscious mind, thinking that if we hide them well enough, they will just disappear. You might be carrying intense anger that you inherited from a toxic or explosive parent, a bitter streak of jealousy that developed in childhood when a sibling got all the praise, or a crippling, suffocating fear of rejection born from an unaware parent who didn't know how to show affection. These early, innocent triggers snowball over time into massive, deep-set insecurities that you feel you must keep hidden at all costs just to be loved and accepted. But here is the brutal reality. Bearing a negative trait does not destroy it. Shoving your dark side into a dark corner of your mind doesn't mean it loses its power. It actually transforms that emotion into a ticking time bomb. Those repressed feelings of hate, anger, jealousy, and fear will always find a way to leak out, showing up unexpectedly to sabotage your relationships, ruin your career, and cause severe damage to your mental health. Highly sensitive people are especially guilty of bearing these traits because you know exactly how destructive they can be to the world around you. So you suppress them in the name of keeping the peace. But true emotional freedom only comes when you stop running and actively drag these buried insecurities out into the light of day. This is what psychologists call facing your shadow. The absolute second you stop fighting your negative traits, acknowledge their existence, and accept them as a part of your human experience, the spell is broken. The shadow completely loses its tight grip on you, and you finally unlock the pure, freeing weightlessness of being entirely authentic. Because you are a deep thinker who has done the heavy work of looking within, you find superficial, shallow small talk to be incredibly dull, mind-numbing, and a massive waste of your finite energy. You cannot stand trading meaningless pleasantries about the weather or listening to someone brag about their material possessions. You have zero interest in the polished, tightly curated, and highly strategic version of a person that they present on social media or in casual social settings. You do not care about the flawless, beautiful mask that a harsh and judgmental society forces people to wear just to fit in. To you, that mask is a boring barrier to what actually matters. What your soul actively craves, searches for, and demands in every single interaction is the real, raw, unfiltered truth of the human condition. You want to skip the fake introductions and get straight to the core of who a person is when nobody is watching. You want to see the ugly faces people make when they are struggling, the hidden emotional scars they try to cover up, and the authentic flaws that make them human. You want to forge an unbreakable, soulful connection with people who are brave enough to be vulnerable, messy, and real. For an empath, there is nothing more beautiful than a person who is willing to take off their armor, drop the act, and show you their true, imperfect self. Because you know that the only connection worth having is one built on absolute, uncompromised reality. At the end of the day, being an empath is not a weakness you need to overcome. It is a hyper-calibrated biological superpower that allows you to read the unspoken truth of the world. You no longer have to settle for superficial connections, and you certainly don't have to let the heavy, masked energy of disingenuous people drain your life force. By dragging your own shadow into the light and weaponizing your boundaries with an unapologetic no, you shift from being a defenseless emotional sponge to an empowered, grounded force of nature. If you are ready to stop people-pleasing, protect your energy, and finally unlock the full strength of your hidden power, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment sharing your experiences with fake people, and turn on notifications so you never miss a guide on navigating this world on your own terms.